Okay, here I am at Home Depot. Came in to get some peat moss, and you'll notice the 3 cubic feet that I normally get they're out of, so I'm gonna go ahead and make my own seed starter mix. And I'm gonna use some cow manure and compost. And I'm going to use some Perlite, which, by the way, they're out of the big bags. I got to go to another Home Depot, I was told. And I'm going to go ahead and use some worm castings and some other stuff, which I'll get into the video later. But right now, this is about, there's a shortage of peat moss. It's been like that since the spring, all the way on into the fall. Hopefully, they'll start producing and getting more in soon. So until then, if you want large quantities, you got to kind of make your own as an alternative. Okay, you'll notice that they have a lot of potted mix over here, and potted mix is mixed with fertilizers, and for seed starter it would be too strong for those roots, but you could kind of look at the prices. Okay, you get the point. The prices are pretty steep, but the main factor is they include fertilizer in there, and you don't want fertilizer for seed starting. So let's see what else they got. Okay, I was told to come on the inside, and your only choices for seed starter are these trays that they sell, and I won't tell you what I think of those. And there's one down here, Jiffy seed starting mix, very small bag for $6. So it would take a bunch of those bags. So I think I'm a lot better off going ahead and do this. One large bag is like $2.50. And anyways, let me get going. Okay, just got back from the store, pick up some supplies. Got some cow manure and compost, no fertilizer. I always pick up my Vigoro for the garden. And I picked up some worm castings. Gonna need a bunch of that. Oh, I hate when there's a hole in the bag. I got limestone for my watermelons and my grapevines. Got some 14 gauge wire, which I always use around here. 10-10-10 for my watermelons and grapevines. I don't want to pile too much on that table. Oh. I'll just throw them on the floor. No, one bag is ripped open a little bit, I see. Hate that. Okay, limestone. limestone. And more limestone. Okay, so they were out of the big bags of perlite. So I have to go down to my other Home Depot, which is further. I'll make a separate trip for that. I still got a half a bag in there that I'll go ahead and use on the video. They were out of the big 3 cubic foot of perlite. They've been out since the beginning of spring. They're still out. They have some small bags of the miracle type stuff, which if you ever used it, and I have, after you water it, and if it dries out a little bit, it gets as hard as a brick. The roots don't grow as good, and your plants look really crummy. So I like the cubic foot type. It's not as fine. It's more loomy. Once you put the perlite in, the water goes through and it stays crumbly and soft and fluffy. So since they're out of all that, the next best thing is you got to make your own. So I'm going to go ahead and make some seeding soil so I can start my onions and my lettuce and some other greens right over here on my porch. And I'm going to make a huge long tray out of some aluminum or some sheet metal that I have that I picked up as scrap from a screen room that was tore down. I'm going to pop some holes in it so it drains nicely. Instead of using a bunch of little trays, I'll just go ahead and do that. I'll put up a little shade cloth so the sun doesn't bake on it. So anyway, let me get going. Okay, so hey, I just got back from Home Depot and picking up some supplies because I got to do some seed starting, because we're in September here in Florida, and that's the beginning of our planting for our fall crop. I already been sowing seeds inside, and they're seedlings now, and they're looking good, but there's some things that I have to plant outside. So today I'm going to go through my scrap pile and find some of the stuff that I need to go ahead and get that going. But for right now, because of our fallen soldiers overseas, I'm patriotic and I'm flying my flag at half-mast. Brave soldiers, unfortunate, I salute them. That's what America is all about, is having people protect us. Anyways, getting back to what I need to do over here is take a little walk around before I go over to my scrap pile and take a look at the chores that I need doing. I still have all of this that I dug out a trench and I put horse manure in so I could plant my banana plants. I got to get a few more loads because I got to raise it up about another foot, so I can't plant right now. So this is going to be my hugelkultur banana beds. So let's go on over here because I've got some bananas coming in, and I'm so happy and excited to always have any kind of fruit coming in. So what do we have here? We have bananas coming in, and believe it or not, the bananas are coming in on a pup, so I'm fertilizing them really good, digging out the pups and everything like that. And over here we have a taller banana tree, and this one here is more mature, and it's giving off some really nice bananas up there. So what we got one there, one there, one there, one there, and one there, and another one coming in there, and there's going to be more. And look, do you see the bees? The bees have pollinated them, and nice and fertile. You can see the bees flying around. They're doing their job. They're taking the male pollen and pollinating the female to give me bananas. Okay, so anyway, I think that's awesome. But you can't just say, oh great, I got bananas coming in, because your work has only just begun. You still have to water. They take plenty of water. This right here, if you cut it, you can squeeze it out. There's so much water in there. So you got to water frequently, like every day. Or plant next to a pond. I dug this pond just so I could have my banana plants next to it. But you also need to fertilize. So I do my chop and drop with Mexican sunflower and Comfrey Bakken 14. And then I take the leaves. When I cut the leaves off, I chop and drop the leaves. And then I take liquid compost tea, where I'm going now, because I'm going to go ahead and fertilize today. And then twice a week, I go ahead and fertilize my banana plants. This over here, you can see it way up there. This is Mexican sunflower. Now you notice I got this fence in front of it because the deer will come right in here and strip off all my leaves. And before I put up the fence, they were doing that. But so I could strip off these leaves here and go ahead and use that for compost tea, which I have, and I'm going to show you that. But also, I got Comfrey Bakken 14 right in here. So the other day, I went ahead and cut all that down to the ground. And as you can see, it's growing back. Well, that's great that it's growing back. But what I did with it is I used it for chop and drop all around the banana plants. And that's because I already got 35-gallon drums filled right over here with compost tea. Now that's Comfrey Bakken 14 and Mexican sunflower. I've got some in there. I've got some in there. Plus I went ahead and got 4 more barrels that I'm going to go ahead and chop and drop and fill up. That's on my list. Now over here, I got a big mound of wood chips that I'm turning into compost. This here, if you take the tractor and you scoop under, it's already looking good. Oh, let me get up here. It's real hot, but it's already looking real nice underneath there. And this pile is pretty big. So let me get down from here. Okay, so now I'm going over to my horse manure. I was running low and I got some the other day, but I used it up on my hugelkultur banana beds that I'm doing. But this here is a horse manure mound. It's aged, but it's not ready to be utilized, so that won't be ready for a few months. This is fresh horse manure. This here, that under there is not going to be ready for a while. Now this whole area right here, you see this whole area? This whole area right here, all this is for my horse manure. So I need to get to work. This whole area all the way down to that pile on around. I got to get a big old mound of horse manure. It's going to be quite a few loads. I went ahead and attempted it the other day, but it rained the night before and it was too wet. But I have 2 places that I need to go, and I got about 4 days worth of work to go dig it and transport it. So for now, I got other projects I got to do. So, going over here to my garden so I can show you what I'm going to do for my spring crops. Okay, over here in the garden, all I got going now is my eggplants. all my other beds, basically there's nothing there. But what I went ahead and did was I put this piping up on top, and I'm going to slip the screen shade cloth over it. I got 30% shade cloth. And down on the bottom of the beds, I got horse manure and sheep manure. I'm going to go ahead and fluff all that up. But before I do that, I went ahead and get the shade cloth going. I'm going to put it over my fall crop, like my lettuce and onions and stuff like that. And I don't want to seed directly into the ground over here. So I got some scrap metal over there that I'm going to go ahead and make up some seedling compost starter soil. And I'm going over there to see what scraps I got that I could bring over here and go ahead and get that going. I'll plant my onions because they take a while, and I'll get my lettuce going. Well, let's go take a peek at that. Okay, on my way to the scrap pile, I'm going to go over here and pass up my watermelon plants. I got lots of blossoms. I got lots of bee pollinators all over the blossoms. And if you can see over there, I got watermelons coming in from small to larger. So my fall watermelon crop, look at all those pollinators. They're just in here really thick right now. So anyway, all these coming in nicely. So let me continue over to my scrap pile. Okay, so you just seen that bumblebee, and you can see it's pollinating my blossoms. I just like taking close-ups of them, and I'm hoping that it comes good out on the video. But those are my eggplants. They're coming in really nicely. They're ready to pick every day right now and give them away and cook them up. And I got some that are overripe. I got to come back in here and trim. It's summertime, so really hard to take care of the garden in the summertime. But I leave some things growing just so I have some stuff happening. Okay, so here's some of the scrap metal that I have right here. Let me turn this around. See, if I turn these over like that, they're actually turned into trays. They're really good. They're nice and long. I got some holes in them. I'm going to punch a little bit more holes in them. See the holes? And I got more of them, and I have longer ones. I'm going to go see if I could go ahead and find my longer ones right now. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to make some seed starter mix, and I'm going to put it in those on my porch and start some fall crops. Okay, so over here on this section of the property, I got a scrap pile. And I keep a scrap pile with pipes and sheet metal and so forth because I always need something. So for right now, let me get over here. I have a bunch of these sheet metals right over here. They're nice and long. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize the shorter ones I just showed you and the longer ones, and I got a bunch of them. And I'm going to go ahead and plant, or I should say I'm going to go ahead and make my seed starter and plant my lettuce and my onions and a few other, broccoli and so forth, my winter crop, in them on the porch with some shade cloth. And once they get big enough, probably by the end of the month, the end of September, I'll go ahead and plant them into the ground, but I like to get them started first, so we'll see what happens. So with that said, everything I just showed you and more is going to take me a little bit, probably a couple days, but you got to start somewhere. So let me get cracking. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wash these off. Okay, rinsed off all the heavy stuff. Now I'm going to use some soap and a scrubber. Okay, so they don't have to be done 100% perfectly because soil is going in there, but for the most part, I clean them up. Okay, so basically these are the same thing as seed starter trays. You got to make sure you got holes in them so you have drainage. I'm going to put a little bit more holes in them. So I got 2 long ones and 4 short ones, and I got a lot of other long ones over there. But these are probably plenty for me to start going. Like I say, I'm gonna have a lot of onions, a lot of lettuce, and a lot of other winter crops that I did not sow in the house that are under LED lights. This is what I'm gonna start outside. September 1st is coming up in 2 days, and probably about towards the end of September I'll be planting these, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hose this off and get it ready to put the pots on here. Okay, this is where I usually do all my seed starters if I don't do them in the house under LED lights. And then when I go to harden up, I bring them over here. I put the trailer there to protect from the sun, but I still got some overhead. So over here, I'm going to hang some shade cloth, 30% to even give them more shade. But for right now, these are my short planks, and these are my long planks. I got to move them over and set them up and get them ready. I just wanted to clean them up. So let me get cracking. Okay. Here's aluminum sheets and aluminum sheets that my neighbor gave me. And I'm going to do raised beds with those. Okay, so let me go ahead and get the trays and see how they lay out. Okay, so you can see how some of this has shade and some of it has full sunlight. It feels like it's a sauna here right now, probably in the upper 90s, maybe 100 or so degrees on the porch. So I need to shade this area. I got the trailer, and I'm going to put shade cloth because I don't want the sun to dry out and bake my little seedlings. But with that said, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 2 long ones and 3 short ones. I'm going to flip the ends of them all up. Now I'm going to put more holes in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a video on how I make seed starter soil, composted soil that's light and fluffy and it drains real good, because we have a shortage of peat moss right now, and so you got to improvise. This is improvising. This probably would have cost me $200 or $300 in trays from the nursery store, but here I am utilizing scrap metal that I picked up for free, and it all works out in the end. That's called being frugal. If I wasn't frugal, I wouldn't be the frugal hoogal gardener. So I got to live up to my reputation and be frugal while I can. So with that said, I'm sweating. Now I got this laid out. I have to make my game plan for the shade cloth. So let me get thinking on that.